Hello, my friend. Welcome to Coffee Chat with Angie. Grab your coffee or whatever you're drinking and let's chat for a little bit today. I'm trying a new drink today. It is a coffee drink. It's called Everyday Dose. Have you heard of it? If I drink coffee too many days in a row and I'm slowly starting to need it every morning just to wake me up, my stomach will get upset. So I have been kind of searching for something that will not upset my stomach. And I came across this Everyday Dose coffee, which is not supposed to give you the crash. It's supposed to give you like focus and clarity. It is coffee. So there's a lot of mushroom things out there. And I've heard mixed reviews, like it tastes gross or whatever. But anyways, I'm giving it a whirl today and it does taste like coffee. I needed to add a little bit. For sweetener, I add syrup in mine to give it a little bit of a sweet taste. So I did need to add a little bit of that, but otherwise it's not too bad. So we'll see as time goes on. I'll keep you in the loop. Anyways, we've all had those moments where we set up a system, maybe for meals, maybe it's for a morning or evening routine, or maybe it's the family calendar, and it works really great until it doesn't anymore. Life happens, the ball gets dropped, suddenly it feels like we're back at square one, right? So it's kind of like you are working out and then you miss 2 days and then you miss 2 weeks and then you miss 2 months. And then you're constantly wondering, am I even a workout person anymore? So let's chat about that today. How do we get back on track when we've dropped the ball? That's going to be our coffee chat. My name is Angie. I'm a personal strategy coach. I support driven working moms to create rock solid systems at home so dinner isn't a last minute scramble. Kids' logistics are not chaos and self-care is not an afterthought. Instead of guilt and exhaustion, you can finally feel present, energized, and in control of the life you are building while also taking time for yourself. If you are here today joining the live, or if you're catching the replay, I would love to know that you're here. Just say hi in the comments. I would appreciate it. Now, systems will get thrown off. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. The ball's going to get dropped. Something's going to get sidetracked. You're going to be overwhelmed. Whatever the case may be, it happens. It's okay. And just because a system gets disrupted, it doesn't mean it's failed. It just means that life has shifted, at least at the moment, right? Kids get sick. You get sick. Seasons at work tend to be busier than other seasons. Travel happens, holidays, all of the things. We know life is going to happen. So how do you jump back in? How do you start again? How do you start something that you didn't maintain? Before you start again, I want you to do this thing because I think this is the biggest mistake people make. We tend to drop the ball on something and we're like, that was working in the past. Why don't we start that again? And we dive back in full force to, again, not have it work again. And it's because we don't do this one thing first. We don't reflect. We don't look back and ask ourselves, why did it stop working? Why did I drop the ball? Why am I not doing it anymore? Whatever the case may be, why is it still not implemented into my life anymore? And this is what I want you to do before you implement this back into your life. This is going to make the biggest difference. Now, I don't care how you go about reflecting on this. If you are someone who needs to sit down with a pen and paper and just kind of think about it, journal about it, write it out, then carve time out of your day to do that. That is hugely important. If you don't carve time, it's just not going to happen. So carve time out of your day to reflect on that so it actually happens. Now, if you're like me, where if I carve out time to reflect on something, I will sit there and not have any idea. It's almost like it puts more pressure on me to figure it out. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I only have 30 minutes left. I have nothing written down, or I have one thing written down. I'm like, okay, now I only have 15 minutes left. It stresses me out, truly. So I need to ask myself that question and then go throughout my day while I'm cleaning the house or while I'm doing something. that it doesn't take necessarily extra brain power. I can't do it when I'm thinking about something else. But as I go throughout my day, I'll kind of like, okay, why didn't this work again? And I'll ask myself, and things will just come to me as the day goes on that I'll need to write down, otherwise I'll forget them. But whatever your personality is, make sure you reflect. So the biggest question is, why did this system stop working? Why did the ball get dropped? Whatever the case. And some of the reasons could be this. Was it too time consuming? Too many pieces that were implemented at once and it just got overwhelming? Was it just unrealistic for your season? So was it working really great and then something happened? Your work schedule got more abundant and that's where you noticed that this was not implemented anymore. Or maybe it worked really great during the summer, but now it's school season and it didn't work so great anymore. And that's kind of when the ball got dropped. So was it when life has shifted that it ended up not working? Is it something you should even pick back up? That one I really want you to consider. If it was working well for you in the past, then the answer would be yes. If it's something you feel like you quote unquote should do because now you're around different people and they're all doing this system or whatever and you're like, oh, I should do that. I did it in the past. But if it isn't going to serve you, don't pick it back up. Okay. And then also ask yourself, is it a system that somebody else was using and it worked really great for them and you just picked it up and plopped it into your life without any changes? It's a system that worked well for someone else, but they're not you, and you forced it into your life like it was you. That's something else to think about as well. So now this reflecting is the key step. Don't skip this part because otherwise you're gonna start again and you're gonna end up with the same results. So we don't want to do that. Now, when you pick it back up, the first thing I want you to do is release any shame that you have. Release anything that says I failed. Release anything that says, you know what, I don't even know why I'm doing this again because I'm just gonna drop the ball again. Release that all and instead pick up grace. Grace says, I'm learning. Treat this, instead of beating yourself up, treat this as data collection. You now know why it didn't work in the past. You're going to adjust some things, you're going to try again. And if this one doesn't stick, you'll also do data collection, figure out why, and move forward again. It's just data collection. Now, after all of that, you're going to focus on the next right step. Keeping in mind what you learned from your reflection. So the next right step is not for anyone to dive right back in. I really truly feel that you don't want to dive in with all of the parts. That gets super overwhelming. You already have an abundant life. To add a ton more abundance to it, not the answer. So I don't want you to be rebuilding the system all in a day. Ask yourself, what is the smallest piece you can implement right now? Right now, what can you implement? It may be the piece that makes the biggest difference, or it may not. It may make very little difference, but it gets everything moving forward. So an example of this, say you're picking up meal planning again, and you reflected and you realized why last time you did meal planning, you did really good about figuring out meals for a week. You did your grocery shopping, you had all of the food in your house, so you didn't have to go anywhere to get bits and pieces when it was time for that meal. And everything went smoothly for a week. And then the next week came and you had to make the menu and you're like, shoot, I unless we eat the same thing over again, I don't even know what meals to make. And we just had hamburgers. I don't want hamburgers again. Or we just had whatever and I don't want to do that again. And the ball kind of got dropped and that's where it stopped. I would say the first small step to pick up is to figure out recipes. What other recipes can you add so you have more diversity when you create your meal plan? That would be a small step. Or maybe it's you wanted to sit down together as a family and it worked sort of when you did it, but you created every single day to sit down together as a family at certain times of the day. And it just, some people were there, some people weren't. It just was too stressful. Maybe instead you pick 2 days out of the week. You know what you're eating those 2 days. You know what time you're eating. Everyone's going to be there. and you only do 2 days. The rest of the week, you just kind of move about like you have been and go from there. Now, remember, systems are meant to serve you, not the other way around. Your system is a tool. It's not a report card. It's not to look back and be like, oh, I get a C for that week, or totally failed on that week, or yay, I got an A. Everything happened smoothly. Though if you do get an A, pat yourself on the back. But it is not there to judge like a report card, okay? Like I said, it is a tool. It's flexible. It shouldn't feel like you're forcing yourself into this rigid box. There should be solid pillars. So there should be structure, but structure that's flexible. So in the case of meal planning and taking these 2 days out of the week to go ahead and eat together as a family, say you said, okay, Tuesday and Thursday, everybody is going to be home at this time. We're going to eat at this time. It's all going to be great. And then Monday comes along and you realize, well, one of your children has a practice they have to get to on Thursday, and one of the adults has to take them. And so you're down 2 people now for a meal. And by the time they get back, other people will be leaving, and it's just not going to work. So instead of beating yourself up, the pillars are sitting together as a family and eating. Can you pick a different day? The day really doesn't matter, right? Pick a different day. Maybe that week it's Monday and Tuesday. Maybe it's Monday and Sunday. Maybe you're like, none of the rest of the days of the week work at all. And so instead of a meal, you have time together as a family for 2 hours, a different day of the week. The pillars are meals together, and you could even break it down more than that. The pillar is having time together as a family. That's really what you're looking for, right? So make sure there's room to flex. You have those pillars. And if it doesn't fit anymore as you're starting to build, adjust it. So if you're thinking, okay, I want these 2 meals a week that we're eating together, but the intent is to build to 7 days a week, and you build to 3 and you're like, okay, that's really good. And then you build to 4 and you're like, okay, it's a little bit more challenging, but we're okay. And then you build to 5 and you're like, I feel the wheels of the bus coming off. Go back to 4 or go back to 3. Maybe this season of your life, reality isn't 7 days a week, and you just need to adjust with that. So I want to give you an example of an experience that our family had, and how I saw firsthand how a system can carry you through a season of life when it gets hard. A couple of years ago, my husband, Kevin, was in a severe dirt bike accident and was in the hospital for 2 weeks. And my son and I, of course, wanted to spend every moment we could at the hospital with him. And thankfully, we were only about 10 minutes away, so we were able to do that. But it was an exhausting and emotional time. One where your life just gets uprooted and you don't have the capacity to think a lot, right? So one thing that made the biggest difference for us was having a meal plan system. We've already had this system for several years before this accident happened. So it was already in place. It was already refined. It was moving smoothly. And honestly, it carried us through this season. And without it, I would have been scrambling. I don't even know what I would have done. Eating out was not really a good option for us. And we were so blessed because we had several people asking if they could make a meal for us or if they could buy gift cards for us and all these different things. It was just absolute blessing that they offered. However, because I'm not able to eat a ton of different things, I stay away from gluten and eat very little dairy, and I can't do tomatoes. And there's just so many things that I knew that if I ate those things, I wouldn't feel very good. And I knew that if we strayed from that we wouldn't feel good. We wouldn't have the strength to be able to jostle all of these things. I didn't want to get sick, and I knew that that was putting my body at risk, as well as our son has a peanut allergy. So we didn't feel comfortable accepting food from other people, not knowing how it was prepared. So one of the things that I said we relied on was our meal planning system. It was ingredients that were already in the house. We already had a map of what we were eating on what day, and we could make it at home. The other blessing is that when we were at home, we could take care of our dog. We needed to feed him, to let him outside, to spend time with him. We didn't want his whole world to get uprooted any more than it had to be as well. And we could have gone out to eat at different restaurants that were sit-down restaurants, but it felt to me like it was a lot of wasted time. Like, why would I want to sit in a restaurant when I could be sitting with my husband at the hospital? So the meal planning was a lifesaver. It truly was. And did we follow it to the T? 100% no. But we had the pillars, we had the groceries, we had the meals that we knew we could make with those groceries. We swapped them around. So if we were supposed to have a certain meal on one day and we're like, I just don't have the capacity to make that, or we didn't want to stay away from the hospital as long as what it would take to make that meal, we switched it for something simple. If we had a longer day that we could do something a little bit more in depth or take a little bit more time, we did. So we did what we could with the time that we had, and we stayed healthy, and we were still able to be at the hospital quite frequently. And this is why I always say, systems are meant to serve you, not the other way around. In this season, our meal planning system took a massive decision off of our plate when our capacity was super, super low. And because that decision was already off our plate, it felt more free. That's why I'm so passionate about helping women create systems that fit into your life. It's not about being perfect at all, because your system's going to have to flex. It's about having a foundation that holds you up when life shifts. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had a system in place that carried you through during a difficult season? It doesn't have to be one where somebody was in the hospital or whatnot, but maybe it was a busier time at work, or maybe you were sick or your kids were sick, and it really supported you through that season. Or have you had a system that the wheels fell off of, or just you stopped doing, that you want to pick back up again? I would love to hear. Know that I am here for you if you need me. If you have a question and you want to pop it in the comments, feel free to do that. I would love to have a conversation. And if you feel that you need more support, I would love to walk alongside you to build a system that works for you and your life. We all can live with more peace, more clarity. So when things happen, as they're going to, the wheels don't fall off completely. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this coffee chat today, and I'll see you next time.